You don't need to be attaching any self-worth to either doing or not doing, but just exist. You are perfect as you are. It's all fine. All you need to do to be valuable is exist. We're all inherently valuable. It's about like tuning into what you specifically need, not living by other people's values or other people's expectations, because they are not you. They don't need the same things you need. You know yourself best. And if you're like, I really feel like I need to rest today, that's fine. Other people don't have to get it. Because we live in a society which really values what we do, specifically what we can do for the economy, what we do to make money. You'll ask people what their job title is, people define themselves by their jobs. You do spend a lot of time at work, but it really doesn't have that much to do with your value as a person, except under capitalism and in our consumerist society, money does mean something. And if your value is determined by your proximity to capital, if you have a job that brings in a lot of money, people might look at you differently, or the inverse, right? But I've been thinking about this a lot, this idea of detaching your self-worth from productivity, because it feels like a daily battle for me at times. There are some times where I'm like, yes, I need to rest and I'm going to rest and I'm not going to make myself feel guilty about it. I'm just going to enjoy this time resting, or I'm in pain, so I need to rest. I'm not going to enjoy this time, but I'm at least going to give myself what I need and allow myself to rest. But it's so difficult existing in this system which is constantly telling us to keep going and to keep doing things and to assign your value to what you do. And even like on the weekends, like what are you doing? Who are you seeing? Where are you going? Like, are you making the most of your time on the weekends? You know, that's your time off. You should be doing stuff, right? And I think it also plays into the way that our society favors extroverts as well. Because it's like, well, yes, of course, if you are an extrovert, you're probably like, yeah, I'm gonna go on a weekend trip to Scotland, or I'm gonna go a weekend trip to France, or whatever. But if you're an introvert, I mean, I don't even work full time, but if I was, it would be like, I need the weekend to recover, you know? When I have worked full time, it's like, no, I'm not doing anything in my downtime, actually. I'm just gonna chill because it's very overwhelming to be on all the time at work. But detaching your self-worth from productivity, I wanted to talk about this. Your values are not always gonna be aligned with everyone else, or everyone else is not gonna see it the same way that you do. And this has been difficult for me to unpack. I know that the way that everyone sees the world is informed by what they've experienced or what they've learned, or like the way we've been conditioned. But it's really hard to see people who just accept that this is the reality that we should want when it's not actually even served them in a way that's like healthy long term, you know? It's just weird to see people be so defensive. But I guess if you are getting a lot of your self-worth from your job or from what you do, as opposed to just being and existing and just who you are, then maybe it is quite challenging if someone's like, hey, actually it doesn't really matter what your job is. Like it doesn't, you know? It matters obviously in a material sense of if you want to afford to live in a certain place, or you need to afford your home, your utilities, everything. Like obviously then it matters, but I mean like in terms of status. And part of me is like, is this just me projecting, or me like turning on something because I don't have that like high powered job? You know, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a, you know, doctor, but it's, I don't know, it's just I guess the way that I've experienced things so far. I'm looking at people who are really high powered in their jobs, and some of them, don't get me wrong, some people are doing fine, okay? Some people are fine, they're happy, they're fulfilled, whatever. But I feel like anyone who is thinking about things a bit more, or has been through life experiences which make them more inclined to think about things, it's not enough, and it's also not important. And you know, I see people like give up their health to work a specific job, or give up time with their family, and it's like, why do we have to exchange our time for money? Like we do. But this is why maybe it's better to like work for yourself or build a business, but then are you just replacing a conventional 9 to 5 if you're working for a company, replacing that with something where you work for yourself and you end up having more work and more things to do because then you are the manager, you are the boss. Like, why does it always end up being this thing? It's weird to talk about. It's not about like putting other people down, but it's just like, yeah, I really don't see, I view everyone the same, and like I don't think it's just because you have a title that makes you more important. I think just allowing yourself to rest can be like a radical thing. Like a radical act under capitalism is just to be like, no, I'm taking the day off. I'm not gonna like obsessively check my phone or my emails. I'm just gonna chill. I'm being unreachable today. I'm just gonna rest because nothing bad will happen. Like the world's not gonna end. I mean, obviously it will depend if you've got like a super high power job, but just allowing myself to rest and not beating myself up and just being like, yeah, okay, today we're just chilling. That's fine, right? And just letting myself feel whatever comes up, even if it's difficult to feel. Because it is difficult to feel. There's this quote Thomas Merton once called "the rush and pressure of modern life a pervasive form of contemporary violence." Violence is the perfect word. This is a quote from The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which is one of my favorite books I've read this year. And I think this quote just encapsulates, to me, it encapsulates it as both an introvert and as someone who feels on the outside of things in terms of like detaching self-worth from productivity and trying to live outside of this like matrix of make as much money, or like, it's difficult because obviously I do still aspire to that because that's how we get access to things in our society, but it's complicated. But this is what it feels like. The rush and pressure of modern life is a pervasive form of contemporary violence. It feels like that because it's relentless, it's never ending. There's this constant pressure, which I think we can feel even when we're supposed to be resting and not doing anything. We can be like, I need to be doing something, I can't just sit here and rest. But that's where it's important to detach your self-worth from productivity, because then you're like, no, I'm allowed to rest, I can also work hard. Like, I can work and do my job well, but I'm also allowed to rest when I am resting. I don't have to be like feeling guilty or like planning what I'm gonna do, just resting. Because there is this relentless pressure to do things. I guess like fear of missing out is a similar thing, right? Of I need to do something or else I'm gonna miss out on something else. And it, like, obviously it is true, life is a series of choices, and if you choose one thing, you've not chosen the other thing, but you still chose one thing, right? You can still choose to rest, and that can be what you need in the moment. That can be the right choice. It's not like then you missed out on a night out, because if you'd gone on the night out, you'd have then missed out on an evening of rest that maybe you really needed, right? It's about like tuning into what you specifically need, not living by other people's values or other people's expectations, because they are not you. They don't need the same things you need. You know yourself best. And if you're like, I really feel like I need to rest today, or I'm just not feeling going out or going for dinner or whatever, that's fine. Other people don't have to get it. It's just it's just difficult, I guess, because I'm constantly like wanting to give other people grace and give myself grace, and it's like sometimes people don't deserve that. You don't have to explain everything or have people understand and be sympathetic, because a lot of people won't be. You just have to do what's best for you. And although it's difficult, sometimes rest is that thing. Detaching your self-worth from productivity is a way of doing that, of allowing yourself to just rest and to like accept who you are a bit and be like, okay, who am I outside of all of the things that I do, or the person that I'm supposed to be in the world, whether that's like your job title or who you are in relation to your family or whatever. It's like, just who am I when there is nothing else going on, when I'm not listening to music, when I'm not watching anything, when I'm just sat by myself. Who am I? Where do my thoughts go? What do I care about? I don't know, you know, just like trying to know yourself and just be, focusing on being and not doing. And it's difficult at first because we're not used to that and it is a bit uncomfortable, but this is where growth happens, right? If you're a bit uncomfortable, not a lot uncomfortable. You don't have to put yourself in like horrible situations where you're like, I am so uncomfortable and I can't do this, but at least I'm growing. It's like, no, we can just like challenge ourselves in small ways every day, and that growth is still meaningful, because even being aware of the fact that you want to grow as a person puts you not ahead of people, but a lot of people are just sort of mindlessly wandering around. I don't know if you've seen that thing of like a lot of people don't have an internal monologue. Terrifying. I'm like, my brain will not shut up. And there are people wandering around with like nothing going on up there. Like, wow, do I envy these people? You don't always have to be doing things. Sometimes rest is productive, although it's not necessarily helpful to frame it like that, but sometimes rest is the thing you need. You don't need to be doing all the time, and you don't need to be attaching any self-worth to either doing or not doing, but just exist. You are perfect as you are. It's all fine. All you need to do to be valuable is exist. We're all inherently valuable. It's nothing to do with your job or your money or what you look like or the place you live or whatever. Nothing to do with that. You as a person, you, inherently valuable. Detach your self-worth from productivity. I just wanted to hop on here because I felt compelled to do a whole separate video about this topic and like explore a few things. I did mention this as a whole point, detaching your self-worth from productivity. I mentioned this as a point in my winter arc video. It's called You Don't Need a Winter Arc, You Need to Slow Down. So if you want to hear a bit more about this topic, that provides like a different angle and also talks a bit about consumerism and how, yeah, you can rest. It's okay, we don't have to be rushing around. I'll leave my winter arc video on the screen. God bless, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.